Welcome to Ashton's Rants. This is episode 10, and today I'm going to talk about being open to other people's ideas. Before I talk about that, though, I just wanted to say that my new song is going to come out from my project, This Boy Electric. If you like dancey pop music with an 80s twist, maybe you could help me out a little bit and pre-save it. The link is either in the bio if you're watching on Instagram, or I'll put the link below if you're watching on YouTube. I'm going to be doing a pretty comprehensive campaign with this song. I've hired a PR firm. I'm going to spend some cash with playlist push. And as well, I'm going to do a pretty comprehensive Facebook campaign. And I'll let you know how all of that goes, what ended up working, what ended up not working. So back to the subject at hand. So when you're working on your music with your team that you've already gathered, with your music producer, and maybe you have songwriters that you co-write with, musicians. There's a bunch of people, some of which I didn't mention in the team's episode. But when you have all these people, you have to be somewhat open to their ideas so that they can contribute and that you're using some of their expertise. And what I would suggest is this. If you've gathered the correct team of producers, musicians, co-writers, whatever, if you've really gotten the correct people and you've done your due diligence, then put a little bit of trust in what they can do and their abilities. So I'll give you a few examples of some things that I've encountered in the studio. And this is one that a lot of producers talk about, and we call it Demoitis. And that's where someone comes in with a demo that they really, really love the sound of. It's just not quite all the way there as far as sound quality to get them to where they want to go with the song, but they're really, really happy with it. And sometimes there's lightning in a bottle and you can't quite capture some of those elements that were in the demo. And it's important to be able to see the song with fresh eyes with the team that you have and try and create something even better. Or at the very least, it might be a little different, but it could be just as good, if not better. Another thing that I encounter is people have an idea in their head. And usually, a lot of times, in this case, especially with beginners, they can't articulate it. And for me as a producer, this can be really frustrating because you're basically guessing what they're looking for. And what ends up happening is you end up having to do that by ideas by subtraction. So you basically have to present an idea. No, that's not it. That's an idea. No, that's not it. That's an idea. That's not it. And that can be really, really frustrating. Another thing that I've encountered is someone that they have maybe a demo or they have something and they want to do something completely different with it. They're really excited about working with you for that. A lot of times it's like maybe an older demo or an older style of music and they want to kind of make it sound newer and fresher. And I find sometimes what happens with that is you end up doing something, and with some people, what can end up happening is they start kind of picking away at it until it kind of just ends up sounding like the demo again. And you kind of start having to think like, oh, okay, that you didn't really want any of that to begin with, you know? So speaking from the producer's standpoint, I'm going to speak about a bunch of different points of view in the industry. But speaking as a producer, which generally speaking, that's what I am in a lot of projects, put the work into finding the right people and then put a little bit of trust in them that they're going to do something that you're going to really like in the end. Oftentimes I kind of describe this as you don't tell the plumber how to plumb, you know, let the person, you've hired someone to do a job based off of their previous work and their previous record. It doesn't make sense to not allow them to work the way they usually work so that they can achieve the same results for you. One example would be if a client says, I want to get airplay, and their song is like 7 minutes long, then obviously that song has to be probably 3 minutes, maybe 3.5 minutes, but probably shorter to even have a chance at radio. So that would be one of those things where, like, you told me this is what you wanted. This is one of the things that we absolutely have to do. At the same token, there's going to be some ideas that I have that are I'd prefer it a certain way, but to me, it's neither here nor there. And for those ideas, I'll just let the artist have those because it's obviously more important to them than to me. And that's where you get a good kind of relationship happening that is based on compromise and mutual respect for each other. Now, another person that can be brought into the project is your musicians. So even myself, I'm a multi-instrumentalist, but there's some things I can't do. I can't play piano really, really well. I can kind of hack away at it. I play guitar really well. The way I describe it is the things that I do, I can do really, really well, but the guitar is a pretty diverse instrument. So there's some things that I just can't do or can't do well, and there's people that I know that do it way better than me that are just awesome. So I'll get them involved. And when I hire a musician to come in on someone's song, sometimes I have varying states of kind of what I'm looking for, but I'm always willing to hear the musician, what they are bringing to the table, because they have a totally different skill set, experience, and knowledge than what I have. And it's important to allow them to express themselves and bring what they have to the table. I don't want to just shut them out. A lot of times with musicians, if you just kind of let them go and just hear what they had in mind, a lot of times they can come up with some really incredible nuggets of goodness, melodic goodness that can add to your song. And in some cases, they're essential parts to what the final production is. And you don't want to shut them down and say, no, this is what I want and just that. You can end up losing a lot of incredible stuff that was going to be added to your song. Another part of the team that's probably a little less creative is the business side of your team, such as your management or your label or something. And a lot of times they're traditionally thinking more along the money side or the business side, but sometimes the best art is actually created with the business side and the art side kind of coming together in a really, really great way. And when that happens, a lot of times you can almost, instead of replacing, or you can replace the kind of the term business with someone who has respect for the listener. You can be a little bit more tactful and say something like that. So instead of, just thinking dollars and cents, which this person is thinking, they're also thinking to achieve that. They're thinking of the listener. And I'll always call this kind of throwing the listener a bone or two. So you want to make sure that you're giving the listener a few things that they're going to want to make the rest of your production or your song a little bit more digestible, a little bit more mainstream or acceptable to a wider audience. And business people, again, if you hire the right, or if you get the right people involved on your team, these people can be really, really good at just kind of doing that without affecting your larger kind of sound and your image. Of course, if you have the wrong people working for you, then listening to these people can be a complete and utter disaster. In your career, there's going to be a lot of people that you're going to be working with, both creative and business people. And if you've chosen the right people, then you should listen to them. Not always following along with what they're saying, but give them the respect that they deserve. Take what your team has to say with a grain of salt and try and come up with the best product possible. Even if it's not exactly what your original vision was, it could end up being a lot better and a lot more successful.